All right, we are going to do a run through of the homework that you guys have this week. We've got a couple problems finding surface area of spheres, and then we have a couple of problems that we're going to go back to from the last few weeks to find some surface area of some other figures. Your questions that you guys have or the problems that you have in ALEKS are going to be a little bit different. They'll have different numbers. The pictures might look slightly different, but they are going to be the same shapes, so this should be able to help you get through some of those questions if you are struggling. First one we have here is a sphere. So when we are looking at a sphere, this is the new shape for you guys this week. Our surface area formula is 4 pi r squared. Now this one here, they give us the radius, it's 3.2, and then they also tell us to use 3.14 for pi. So when I go to plug all these things in to my surface area formula, I have 4 times, instead of pi, I'm going to use 3.14. And then my radius is 3.2, and then I have to square it. So that gives me 128.6144. And it tells me to round to the nearest tenth, which is 1 decimal place. So when I go to round this, I'm going to go 128.6, because that 1 there tells me that that number ahead of it is going to stay where it's at instead of going up. They already have the units there, so all I have to do is put my numerical answer in the box. Now this next one that we have here, we have another sphere that we have to find the surface area for. This one, they give us the diameter. So the diameter of the sphere is 11.6 millimeters. If I have the diameter and I know that I need to find the radius, remember I can just cut that diameter in half and that gives me the radius. So I have a radius of 5.8. So when I go to my formula for surface area of a sphere, I have 4 pi r squared. And again, they want us using 3.14 for pi. So 4 times 3.14 times my radius squared gives me 422.5184. I'm still rounding to the nearest tenth. So I have 1 decimal place. Because that number afterward is 4 smaller, then my answer is going to stay where it's at. So 422.5, and again they already have the units, so I just have to type that number in. I don't have to worry about adding any units to it. Now this one here, we have the surface area of a cylinder. They give us the diameter of the base and they give us the height of the cylinder. So my formula, and this is going back a couple weeks, the formula for the surface area of a cylinder is 2 times the area of the base, which in this case is pi r squared, plus the circumference of the circle, which is 2 pi r, times the height. So I have the area of the two bases, and then I have the area of this part around here, the vertical piece to that. So I have a diameter of 6, which again means that my radius is 3, and that's what I need for my formula. So now I can plug things in. So surface area equals 2. I'm still using 3.14 for pi. So 2 times 3.14 times my radius squared plus 2 times 3.14 times my radius times my height, which in this case they give all of that to me. They tell me not to do any rounding, so when I get my answer here, I get 226.08. Now in this case, I have to come up with my units. So when we are doing area, it's always going to be your units squared. So 226.08 yards squared in this case. Next one here, we have a rectangular prism that we need to find the surface area of. So my surface area for a rectangular prism is going to be 2 times the length times the width, plus I have two sides that are length times height, and then I'm going to have two sides that are width times height. Now it doesn't really matter which one of these is the length, the width, and the height as long as we can kind of keep it straight. So if I do this one as my length, and that can be my width and my height, just so that I know what's going where, I can start plugging those into my surface area formula. So 2 times 7 times 7 plus 2 times 7 times 3 plus 2 times 7 times 3 again. So I've got two sides there that are 7 centimeters long. This one I end up with a surface area of 182. And again, I have to choose my units. So with surface area, it's always going to be your units squared. So 182 centimeters squared. The last one that we have here is our triangular prism. So for this one, we have the surface area equals the perimeter of the base, which in this case is the perimeter of the triangle, times the height of the prism, plus the base of the triangle times the height. Now this one here, what I'm looking at is I have two bases or two triangles, which would mean the surface area is 1/2 base times height. When I do that, those disappear, which is why I'm left with the lowercase base and the lowercase height. When we are looking at base times height for a triangle, we want the two sides that make a right angle, which in this one we have. Otherwise, we would need to have that vertical height in the middle of the triangle. So for this here, if I look down here, I have a right angle. So this is going to be 9 times 12. Now the perimeter of my triangle is all the way around the outside, so I have 15 plus 9 plus 12 for my perimeter, which is 36. And now the important thing to remember, this here is for that triangle. This height here is the height of the prism, which means that they are two different heights. So that height there is the distance between the two triangles, which is that 14 right there. So when I go to plug these things into my formula, I have the surface area equals the perimeter, which is 36, times the height of the prism plus the area of the two bases, which ends up, because they're triangles, ends up being just 9 times 12. So I get a surface area of 612. And again, my units are always going to be the units squared or yards squared in this case.